So a little while ago, I don't know, a couple days ago at this point at least, I made a video basically talking about an issue that could affect all Americans, right? And as an Ohioan, I was pushing really hard for the new Intel semiconductor plant that they're planning to build north of Columbus that would bring thousands of jobs to Ohio, tens of billions of dollars of investment to Ohio, would lead to the United States manufacturing and producing its own semiconductors and chips again, and would basically be beneficial for everybody in the country, right? I talked about this, I made a pretty good point, I think, for it. And at the time, the future for this whole plan was very uncertain, and it's all been based on one piece of legislation called the CHIPS Act, okay? Now, if you haven't seen that video, I'll give you guys a quick rundown on the basics of it. The CHIPS Act is a $52 billion bill that would subsidize the American chip manufacturing industry. It would incentivize companies like Intel to build new factories, increase their production, basically making the United States more competitive in the ever-increasing competitiveness of the world of semiconductors. Now, the entire world runs on semiconductors now. These things are in everything. Every piece of technology, you know, everything. Our military needs them, our economy needs them, our hospitals need them, you need them for consumer electronics, your car needs them. There's infinite uses, basically, for these semiconductors, and as many of you would know, the vast majority of these chips and stuff are made in places including China, Taiwan, the European Union, places like that. The United States used to be the leader in chip making and manufacturing and technology increasing, if that makes any sense, right? We were once the leaders, but we've recently fallen from that position, and it's very important that we as a country address this. Well, the good news about it is it looks like we're finally addressing this, and we're going to talk about this whole subject. Now, I'm going to talk about things such as insider trading, Nancy Pelosi's recent stock investment into Nvidia, and much more in this video. A little bit of a conspiracy video, if I may say so myself, but the good news is it looks like this is finally moving forward and America might actually finally get a W with this. As soon as next week, the Senate is expected to hold a vote on a bipartisan bill that would provide billions of dollars in federal funding to rebuild the U.S. semiconductor industry. It's an effort years in the making designed to boost competition with China, home to one of the fastest growing chip markets in the world. The Senate on Tuesday held an important procedural vote that passed 64-34 to clear the way for the legislation to be considered for a final vote. The bill, known as the CHIPS Act, would provide around $52 billion in subsidies and tax breaks to American chip manufacturers to incentivize them to build new factories and bolster production in the country. Members of both sides know that America's chips crisis is sending shockwaves across the economy. It's endangering our national security, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said Thursday. To ignore the chips crisis means higher costs, squandered job opportunities, greater dependence on foreign chip producers. Thankfully, the Senate is close to finally taking action. The bill attempts to combat the global chip shortage, largely driven by supply issues caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. It also aims to provide new jobs across a slew of industries that rely on chip making, including the automotive, energy, electronics, and transport sectors, to name a few. Computer chips are essential to countless products, from cars to phones to laundry machines and digital services. Of course, I believe America will lead the way if this chamber is willing to do what is necessary for our economic and our national security, Schumer said. Okay, so I have been a very public proponent of the CHIPS Act. And that's because I genuinely believe, and I believe the evidence shows, that subsidizing the chip manufacturing here in the United States is going to have an immense benefit for not only our national security, but our national economy and for our everyday way of life. And obviously, I think it's a good thing that this bill is moving forward. I mean, we as a country have fallen behind. And of course, you know, I feel like as an American, most of us at least have realized that in many regards, the United States is falling behind. You know, we always make the claim that, oh, we're the greatest country on the planet. We're the greatest country in the world. And while I think that claim is true at times, you know, we're falling behind more than ever. And this is, if anything, one minor indication of that. We really should be in control of our own supply of semiconductors. I mean, wars will possibly be fought over these things in the future. The immense benefit that they have to basically every different aspect of our lives at this point is pretty much immeasurable. I think I read something recently from like the Commerce Secretary of the United States that said if the United States was cut off from the global chip supply for whatever reason, there would be an immediate and drastic recession in our economy. It is imperative that we as a country step forward once again and start to make our own semiconductors. I mean, all of the evidence is out there, all of the reasoning and all of the logic is out there, and it's something that both sides support, which is pretty rare, it seems like, in the United States, right? There's so much political divide in the country, and everyday issues like this have been turned into fierce fighting grounds for political ideologies. But even with this, both sides see the immense importance of doing something like this. Now, let's talk about why a potential reason that this might be moving forward actually would be. So I'm assuming many of you know who Nancy Pelosi is. She's currently one of the most influential people in American politics, and one of the big criticisms against Nancy Pelosi is basically the stock market performance that her and her husband have. If you didn't know, the Pelosi's might be some of the greatest investors on planet Earth. They have ridiculously high returns on their investments. They seem to magically know somehow when to invest into specific industries, and this, of course, is no different. So a few days ago, the Pelosi family bought I believe 20,000 shares of Nvidia, which is a company heavily reliant on the use of semiconductors and computer chips, which was worth millions of dollars. And then, of course, now suddenly, after basically a year of inaction from Congress and whatnot, all of a sudden, interest has been re-sparked in the bill, and they're ready to move it forward. Now, obviously, it's quite a coinky-dink that right when Nancy Pelosi and her husband buy millions of dollars worth of semiconductor shares, essentially all of a sudden she's supporting this and the government's moving forward trying to get this fixed. Now, in my opinion, this is for the greater good. You know, corruption in politics is very common. It happens all the time. And I don't want to make excuses for the Pelosi's because, in my opinion, it's quite clear that they're committing insider trading. You simply just don't get the returns that they get with the accuracy that they have without insider trading or cheating in some way, but I digress. But in this instance, it is for the greater good. I mean, yeah, they obviously, I feel like, are insider trading. They vehemently deny it. But at the end of the day, at least finally something good for America is going to happen from it, you know? At least if the politicians are going to line their pockets with whatever money they can get out of this situation, at least it'll be something that'll benefit our everyday lives. And that's not something you can often say. Many of the times when these politicians are doing things like this, I feel like it's not really in Americans' best interests. It doesn't mean that it's not wrong, but at the end of the day, you know, at least we're getting a little bit of a win from it too. Now, I want to show you a little bit of this because actually Nancy Pelosi was asked this directly by a reporter recently, and honestly, I found the answer to be pretty interesting.
Yes, sir. I think we have to go now. One more, he said. Yes, sir.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he's received from you?
What are you saying?
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information you've received from you?
No, absolutely not. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. She said she didn't do it, so, well, I guess she didn't do it. That kind of clears that up for us. Now, obviously, it's very suspicious, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's either one of the greatest coincidences possible or a little something fishy is going down, right? So, of course, this hasn't been voted on yet, but at least they're paving the way forward. At least we're finally seeing a little bit of action regarding such a major potential crisis. I feel like as a country, this is a better way forward for us. I feel like people on both sides of the political aisle here in the United States can kind of see that, and hopefully we actually get the good outcome in this one. Hopefully we get the good ending in this one. But the fight's not over. Make sure you ask your local representative to support the CHIPS Act, as it's really a lot of upsides for America. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of an update video to the one I already made and kind of talk about this micro controversy with Nancy Pelosi and everything. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubTheOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, talking about the CHIPS Act and signing out.